Home for the holidays after passing the eighth largest tax cut in United States history, Republicans could be forgiven for reveling in the warm embrace of nostalgia. Who among them won't raise a glass to Ronald Reagan, a welcome ghost of administrations past, the revered Republican president whose first State of the Union address promised the biggest tax cut ever to expand our national prosperity, enlarge national incomes and increase opportunities for all Americans. Speaker Paul D. Ryan might chuckle fondly at Reagan's tale of woe from a worker in the Midwest, a precursor to Mr. Ryan Cindy, who made the everyman's case for a tax cut by complaining, "I am bringing home more dollars than I ever believed I could possibly earn, but I seem to be getting worse off." For all the backslapping over a job well done, however, Republicans are proving notably more reluctant to acknowledge the true impact of the tax changes that Reagan wrought. That's because Reagan's cuts didn't quite work as advertised. Gross domestic product grew quickly during his 2 terms, averaging about 3.5% a year, pretty decent compared with the current measly pace. For 1 in 2 Americans, though, those in the bottom half of the income pile, income actually shrank on Reagan's watch. In 1980, the year he was elected, they earned $16,371 a year on average, in today's dollars, according to the World Wealth and Income Database. By 1988, Reagan's last year in office, they had to make do with $16,268. Reagan promised to continue to fulfill the obligations that spring from our national conscience, to help those who legitimately could not help themselves. But even throwing in the impact of taxes and transfers from all government programs, Americans on the bottom half of the income scale did not fare much better. By 1988, they were taking in $21,614, on average, $8 more than in 1980, after inflation. The sliver of America that did get ahead was, you guessed it, the one at the tippy top, the richest Americans, those in the highest 1% of the income distribution. Their earnings grew by about 6% a year. Whatever gains that Republican tax cuts have bestowed on the economy in the years since Reagan promised voters a city on a hill, they have all shared the same distributional peculiarities. President George W. Bush passed 2 rounds of tax cuts, in 2001 and 2003, arguing that the United States had a budget surplus because taxes are too high and government is charging more than it needs. To make his case, in 2001 Mr. Bush deployed the Ramos family of Pennsylvania, which he said would save $2,000 from his first round of cuts. "If we had the money," Stephen Ramos, a school administrator, told somebody on the president's staff, "it would help us reach our goal of paying off our personal debt in 2 years' time." And yet, during Mr. Bush's 2 terms, the average income of the bottom half of Americans slid from $17,827 to $17,473, accounting for inflation. After factoring in taxes and transfers, that sum did increase, 3.5%, or about 0.4% a year. The bottom half of Americans fared better under President Bill Clinton, who actually raised taxes.